nutritionist. So I specialize in working with people who've had, for the most part, traumatic injuries, neurological injuries, spinal cord injuries, brain injuries, and I work with rehabilitation teams in long-term recovery and healthcare. So that's what I do for a living. I had my own spinal cord injury almost 30 years ago this year, actually.
So you've done some work and you know SCIO?
Yes. So I have a 30-year history with SCIO. 30 years ago, when they were known as Canadian Paraplegic Association, CPA Ontario, now SCIO, I was a client initially when I was going through rehab. And then I worked for them for 2 years doing their peer support program. And then I was on their board for a number of years when I left there. And for the last 15 years, I've been volunteering. So I've got a very varied history with them. They're like family to me. I think they do amazing work. The individuals who work there are very passionate about what they do. And I think we need them to advocate to make change in Ontario, to make things easier so people can live more independently.
That kind of advice coming from someone who's had a similar lived experience is totally different than coming from a therapist, or
absolutely,
probably therapists might be hesitant to say the wrong thing, or because you don't have that same shared experience.
Exactly, it makes a huge difference. And you know, I mean, like I said, I'm still friends with a lot of the therapists I had in there, and they were incredible. And very supportive, very compassionate, very understanding and patient. But coming from someone who's been through it validates it. It gives you a sense of relief as well, to realize that it's okay to have bad days as well as good days and not be embarrassed or ashamed of it, because I mean, that's life, and we're dealing with a lot more on our plate now, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say you're struggling some days.
What advice would you give to a therapist, maybe like a brand new therapist who's just going to work at Lyndhurst? What advice would you give them in terms, it can be general, or in terms of working with someone who's had a spinal cord injury?
It's very specialized. It really is working with this demographic. So I really think to get into working with this population, you have to have a lot of compassion, a lot of patience, and understanding into a lot of the secondary health complications that are involved in it, and to know that maybe you're not going to have the same outcomes. So I think it's really knowing yourself. This is an area you want to work in, analyze, and if it is, great, but be prepared for a different way of working, and look at the person, not the patient. Sometimes it takes years for people to turn that corner. And this is from personal experience with clients. You know the potential's there, and you work with them and you listen. And that's what I say when I talk about patients. Sometimes it's years before they turn that corner and it clicks. And then you see them just take off, move forward. And for everybody, it's different. What makes them turn that corner is, it's so individual as the person and their injury. People are motivated maybe by sports, or getting back to what they want to do recreationally, or it's their job, or it's a relationship, whatever it may be. That's part of, I think, the job as a therapist, is to find out what motivates that person and work with it and help them get there. Like I said, it could take months, it could take years. But when you see them turn that corner and then really motivate themselves, it's incredible. It's so rewarding. Traditionally, from my own experience and just knowing the systems, nutrition has not been a part of the rehabilitation process and long-term care. Being able to get in the early stages of recovery and help people make healthier choices can make a huge difference in terms of preventing, managing, addressing a lot of the secondary health complications that can come up. So pressure sores, for example, right? It's huge. It can really interfere with quality of life. It can be life-threatening potentially. So it's, working with people and just making them aware of what foods they need to incorporate into their daily diet to keep your skin integrity, keep your immune system up as well. So bladder infections are huge with catheterization in this population. So there's certain nutrients, there's certain supplements that people can take to prevent bladder infections. So for me, it's all about prevention, prevention, prevention. You don't want any of these secondary health complications developing. So the whole thing is prevent them. This is the way you can do that. If you have them, how can we help heal them, address them, and get you back to living your life as fast as possible? Timing is critical, because if you've got somebody with a spinal cord injury, traumatic injury, they've got to, look at making their house accessible, get a van, transportation, or a car, adapt it. And what are they going to do work-wise? I mean, and family-wise, there's a whole myriad of issues they're working on to rebuild their life. If I'm working with somebody who's been through a trauma and they're going through everything else, it's just one more thing, literally, they're adding on their plate. So, and it's also difficult too, because food is comfort, right? So if you've been through an injury, you want to eat all the stuff that makes you feel good, gives you some comfort, but might not be the best thing for you in terms of your overall health. It's also one of the few things, especially in the initial stages, people have control over, is what they can eat. So taking that away can be difficult for people. So again, maybe it's better that I come in a little later, not too much later, when the development of certain secondary complications starts to take place. But, definitely timing's an issue.